Okay, YouTubers, space detectives, another quick game of interplanetary I Spy going on here. Today we are looking at Sol 1429 and we're looking at this ridge line here. We got a slope, lots of debris, lots of bits of rock and fragments strewn all over the place here. Here's the image information at the bottom, Sol 1429, taken a few years back now, almost. And, well, there's a lot to see in this area, and today I'm just going to concentrate particularly on this one image, because if I was to show you the whole area, we'd be here all day, and I have made many other videos on this area. If you go through my channel, you will see that there's loads of stuff from this area, and what we have today is what seems to be a depiction of this Greek god here, Zeus. Okay, in fact, it's very similar to this one, as I'm about to show you. Now, I may have actually shown this before on Mars Magazine, ArtAlienTV Mars Magazine on Facebook, but I don't think I've made an actual video about this particular thing on its own. It may have appeared in one or two other clips in some of my other videos briefly, okay? But this is the one, and the area to look is just here. Now, this isn't very big. This is literally probably only a few inches tall, just here. And it's very hard to spot because it's got the brown filter on it, the orange filter, I just say. These images are not RGB, i.e. red, green and blue. They are RGBO, they're red, green, blue, orange, okay? And when you look on the actual NASA page, you can see in the thumbnails, you can see the little orange filters as well. So that's a fact, and what that does mean is that everything looks the same colour, pretty much, but it does mean you can see into shadows slightly better. So it swings and roundabouts, really. In many cases, it makes the images much harder to search, and it makes them hard to look at and strains your eyes, okay? So here's the raw image, here. I'll show you that now. I'll zoom into it. And it's just to the left, just to the right of centre here, we've got what looks like a statue, okay? And what you need to do with this is quite a small low-res image. What you need to crop this out, enlarge it and stuff it with pixels before you see any real detail, because that will pixelate a lot when you zoom into it. So that's what I did here. I got a raw clip. Now it's pretty fuzzy because the image resolution is not great, okay, but it's there. You can actually see, if you look really carefully, you can see a chin here, a nose sticking out here, an eye there, forehead, a shiny forehead there, and a head sort of leaning back. There's a kind of straight rock sticking into the side of it here, at the back of it. That's where the ear is there, and the chin comes around to here, okay? Now, it doesn't make a lot of sense until you really brighten this up, which is what I've done. Okay, and what I've done here, I've had to redo this image. I originally found this in 2018, about a year ago, almost exactly a year ago actually, and I put the wrong number on it. Now I've just spent the last 10 minutes trying to find where the image was, but the original that I did, I'd accidentally put Sol 1421 in there. I misread the Sol number and got it wrong, so it's just taken me a while to re-find it. What I've done is I've redone the image here. I've redone the composite image, and I put a couple of clips of the Zeus statue in there from Earth, which is a bronze in a museum somewhere or art gallery. Not sure which one. And this is slightly clearer. I've obviously enlarged it. I've brightened the hell out of this to get it to come out, and added a bit of contrast. And I put the date back on it, and so I basically redone the image. This will go on the cover, obviously, or some version of this will go on the cover. But of course, you probably would have already seen that because you've clicked on it. So there we are. It's very, very similar to this bronze of Zeus here, with the beard coming round, quite a big beard. You can actually see what looks like parts of the beard and straggly parts here. Now, I'm not saying this is living or was living. I think this is actually a statue, but I could be wrong. Not really enough detail to tell either way, but what it does represent is something like Zeus. I'm not saying it is Zeus, but it does resemble Zeus. And other statues have been found, not very far from here, that do resemble other gods, and not necessarily just Greek ones. Some Roman, some Greek, some look. There was one that I showed in the previous video that I uploaded of Hanuman, which is a Hindu god, a Hindu monkey god, who is half human, half monkey. So there's a whole pantheon of these god-like statues and depictions of various gods like that we have on Earth. Now, why would that be? I don't know. Why would there be a depiction of a Greek god on Mars? Well, perhaps the gods that the Greeks worshipped actually did come from Mars, or also went to Mars and were worshipped there also. Now, the Roman gods were merely kind of rebranded of Greek gods. They renamed them and rebranded them slightly, but they pretty much kept their same attributes. But they've sort of rebranded them for their own taste. You know, the Roman taste was slightly different to Greek, but they copied most of their things from the Greeks. But coincidentally, the Greek gods were supposed to live on a mountain called Mount Olympus. Okay, and it just so happens that the largest mountain or volcano, or whatever you want to call it, was a volcano in our complete solar system is on Mars. Is it possible that the ancient myths of Zeus and the other Greek gods coming from Mount Olympus, did they mean Olympus Mons? Now, obviously, Olympus Mons was named more recently, but perhaps the link to Mars goes back a lot further than that, go to sort of Greco-Roman times on Earth, thousands of years ago, and perhaps there is a link there. Perhaps the gods that they worshipped, they did believe were living gods. They didn't believe necessarily they were kind of ethereal kind of beings. That they thought that they were actually real, sort of superhuman type people that came from elsewhere. So is that possible? I'm not an expert on Greek history or gods, so I'm just kind of outlining what little I do know from studying art and art history a little bit. So perhaps some of you out there might have some other information about this, and we may be able to link some of this stuff together. Very interesting. So there we have it, that's it. Let me show you the folder. I'll show you some of the clips I took just to show you how I got to this point. There's the main, what I did is I took the clip here. Here's the raw clip. Now, this has been enlarged, but nothing done to it. It's very, very vague, but you can see it. If you let your eyes adjust, you can see an ear. You can see an eye there with a bluish tint to it there. Sort of a bluish shadowy part. There's a nose here. You can see some teeth there, or perhaps upper lip or lower lip. And the chin with the beard coming around. It is muddy, I do appreciate that. And a lot of people say, oh, you're just seeing things as parodictic. No, it's not. The reason these images are downsized before the public get to see them, one of the reasons they're downsized and degraded, and one of the reasons they have an orange filter is to make it very difficult to see stuff. And of course, if this is made of the same material as the surrounding rock, which it probably is, then it would look the same color anyway, even if this was a full color normal RGB image and not an RGBO image with an orange filter. Okay, so a lot of people probably criticize me and take the mick and say that you're just seeing things. No, I'm not, because there are hundreds of other statues and similar things in the area, as I have proven in previous videos. And I have huge playlists full of these things. In fact, I've got one up here. See, this is the, hang on, before I do that, I'll show you the previous image I did of this. This is exactly the same shot here. You've got, you might be able to see that better. I don't know if it's darker. Yeah, it's a bit darker. You can see the details slightly better actually. The eye there, the mouth here, the chin with the beard coming round, the ears visible there. And you've got this almost kind of basin-like hair coming down in a sort of basin cut, almost like this here, which is very interesting, okay? And you can see it there in the raw image. You can see that almost looks like a hat. It may even be a hat that just happens to look like this kind of basin style haircut with the sort of curly hair, you know, slightly curly hair with ringlets in it. It's very, very interesting. So, but of course, this is the version of the image with the wrong number, 1421. It's not 1421, it's 1429, which is why I struggled to find it today, and this has taken a little bit longer than I was hoping it would. Now I brightened this up a bit. You can see this is a bit lighter, and I put two versions of the Zeus statue in there just to compare the actual morphology, facial morphology, and the shape. Very similar indeed. Very interesting. How and why, I don't know. I can't tell you. I'm just trying to piece together some of the jigsaw here. The problem is trying to do a jigsaw puzzle when many of the pieces are missing and you do not have a picture to actually work from. It's very difficult. So I'm actually working in reverse here and trying to put everything together and work out what this stuff actually means and how these things relate to each other. And the only way you can do that is by looking at many, many thousands of images, as I've done over the years, probably over 1 million Mars images so far I've looked at. Many of them are stitched together, so often you look at sort of hundreds at once. But I have been through all the Curiosity images now about 3 times, and there's hundreds of thousands of them. So, you know, and that doesn't even account for all the other Mars images I've looked at as well. So there we are. You do have to take your time. You've got to look very carefully. You've got to look at many thousands of images, and often I will look at 100 images and not really find anything, and then I'll look at another 50 images and find something in almost every one. But you really do have to brighten a lot of these images, especially if the objects are in shadow like this is. And this is literally only a few inches tall, and it's a bit of a distance away. You've got this kind of flat, kind of dried out clay here. You've got a lot of debris and rocks that have fallen down the side of this ridgeline, which is quite large. And there it is, just there. You can just about see it there, okay. You're going too close, it'll pixelate. So you've really got to take a crop, enlarge it, stuff it full of pixels, and enlarge it using a bilinear enlargement, and that would mean that it actually helps smooth the image out slightly. But some of these other things may also be statues or parts of statues. So I will have another look through this whole sol here, and I'll get the Gigapan up. I'll put links to this below in the description, and the Gigapan as well, for you people out there to have a look at. So that was about it really. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating, and it's very similar to some of the other things I found in some of my playlists up here. I've got this playlist up here if you want to check it out. It's called Meet the Martians, Mars Statue and Skull Collection. That's the full title. And there's 88 videos here. Now, there's a lot more than 88 of these, okay? Because many of these videos contain multiple statues, much like this video here, Gold Beetle found on Mars, multi-statues and evidence for life. There's like 4 in a row there, right next to each other, okay? I've got it up here, just here. The big one in the, this was quite funny actually, because some of the people that, one person that's looked at it said it looked a bit like Elton John. I thought that was really funny. I thought that was really funny. And I've got a comparative image here of a statue from, not a statue, but a carved kind of head in Chile, which is about the same sort of size, very similar crude style. This one even has like hair carved on the top of it there. And the eyes are very kind of rectangular, the eye sockets, very strange indeed. Now, as I said before, the reason why a lot of these things do look like the surrounding rocks is because they're made of the same surrounding rock. And not only that, this sand and dust and soil on Mars, if you put it under pressure, will stick together and turn to concrete. In other words, it would be extremely easy to make sculpture on Mars and make these big kind of sculptures, and then you could squash it together with your bare hands, or just put it in a box. Okay, put it in a square box perhaps, and then put the soil in, and then put a weight on top of it to push it down and make it go hard. Then you could just take remove the box and then chip away at it with a chisel, it would be easy to do. It's the perfect sculpting material. And the scientists, as I have shown in previous videos, scientists on Earth have been recreating the Mars soil, and it has quite miraculous properties because of its sulfur content. And the sulfur in it acts like a glue and sticks the soil together under pressure, and it turns to a type of concrete. So this is what we're seeing, okay? Now I'm not saying all these statues are made of the soil and ground, but some of them have been made from clay, or some may even be actually made of bronze. But it's impossible to say when you have image quality this low and when the images are that sort of low res, okay? But they may have been this kind of colour. And if you look at the colour of this, as I've shown here, it's very similar. Look at the colours. You've got the sort of blues and browns and sort of greenish tones in there, which is typical of bronze. I've never worked in bronze. I've worked in clay and I've worked in lots of other mediums, but you need a serious workshop to work in bronze, serious metal work going on there. But there we are. It's very similar in colour, very similar in shape, and it looks like Zeus. I'm not saying it is Zeus, but it does look like him. So is there a connection between Mars and Earth? I think there is, and it may be possible that some of the gods that we worship on Earth, as well as not just Zeus, but as well as Hanuman and other gods that we used to worship, or some people still do around the world, it may be possible that they also visited Mars and that they were worshipped there. They may have even come from there. We don't know. Speculation, of course. There we are. It's a nice close-up. So there we are. There's the image there. I'll just show you quickly the other one because that's slightly darker and you can see slightly more detail in some ways in the older image, which is that one. I'll show you the older one. It's a little bit darker, and the eye, the sort of eye and mouth detail is probably a bit darker, but it's still a bit vague. I do appreciate that. But as I said before, there are hundreds of others in the area, and all you've got to do is go to some of my playlists, and a lot of these videos have like 4 or 5 statues in them, okay? So I would say there's statues and skulls now, there's probably over 200 now, I would say. A particular good one, there's another one that looks very much like Zeus here, Gods of Mars Part 3, so you can check that out. I'll click on that now very quickly just to show you which one I mean. This was not found by me, this was found by someone else. The details in the description. So other people are finding these. Let's do that again. That was really quick. Other people are finding these, not just me. Many researchers are finding statues. But really, a lot of people say, oh, it's just you're just looking at faces in rocks. No. These are 3-dimensional. You can see that these are 3-dimensional. They are not flat. A face is just, you could just go up to a piece of sand, do a couple of dots and a mouth, and do a circle, and that's a face in the sand, okay? That's a face. There's a big difference between a flat face and a 3-dimensional sculpted head, okay, or statue. There's a world of difference between the two. Do not confuse one with the other. Skeptics out there keep saying, oh, you're just looking at faces in clouds, and it's just like, oh, I've seen a rabbit in the cloud. Yeah, well, go yourself, you. I've had enough of these. I get people saying this all the time. This is valid research, and if we listen to people like that, the museums would not have things like this in them because they never would have been found. The museums would be empty if we listened to skeptics and assholes like that all the time. There'd be nothing there. You would go to the museum and what would there be? Nothing. Because none of these things would have been found, because archaeologists have all got pareidolia. But they don't go up to people on Earth saying they got pareidolia, do they? No, they reserve that for people that do it on Mars, like myself. Only Mars researchers have pareidolia. Oh yeah. You know, if you bump into a statue in a pile of sand on Earth, dig it up, and then take it to a museum, do they say, oh no, we're not having that, sorry, you've got pareidolia? So, it's just like looking at faces in the bloody clouds, mate. Yeah, you're delusional, you're on drugs, you're taking drugs, man. Yeah, you're drunk. Yeah. Well, these people really need to go fuck. This is archaeology. Get over it. Okay, it's on another planet, but you probably don't believe in other planets because you're probably a flatty, one of these morons who thinks the Earth is flat. So there we are. Sorry for losing my temper a bit there, but I've had enough of these assholes out there who just keep saying, oh, it's all pareidolia, when there are hundreds of examples. You know, if there was only 2 or 3, yeah, okay, whatever. Right. At least on this channel, I make the effort to find things that we can recognise and that we can compare to things we'd have on Earth, and that have very similar morphology and shape and 3-dimensional attributes. Okay? So, it's not made up. There will still be people out there who say it is, but they've got ulterior motives and they are trying to discredit anything that they don't like. I could argue that that cars don't exist and just live indoors and shut all the windows and not watch the TV, and I could say that there's no such thing as cars, right? I could just pretend, right? And I could just go around saying, oh, there's no such thing as cars, until I got run over, of course. So, you know, this idea that these are just imagined is BS. And a lot of these people that make these comments have fake accounts anyway, so there we are. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you soon.